Hi, guys. Happy Tuesday. I hope everyone is gearing up for Thanksgiving. The staff is all gone for the day. We're out for the rest of the week, spending some time with our families. I hope you're getting ready to do the same thing because family time is important. Um, we're mostly about weight loss around here. We have been. We're changing that. We're moving into more of a holistic wellness type thing in 2025. But weight loss has been the main thing we talk about. Today, though, I want to continue the conversation about things you can use a ketogenic diet for that's not just weight loss, because low carb affects so many different parts of our body. We talked about mental health with one of these. I don't remember, COPD. And today we're going to talk about a very rare form of brain cancer. And some of you may have never heard of this type of brain cancer, even though I know about 10 years ago when I joined DMA, there were 5 cases of this particular breast or brain cancer in my local hometown. So it is a very much growing type of cancer, and it's talking about a glioblastoma. So a glioblastoma is in the brain, and it's typically a rapid growing cancer that we don't have a way of good treatment. There is a next to zero survival rate. The 5-year survival rate is very, very low. That's very rapid progressing cancer. Some notable people that had this, Joe Biden's son had it a couple years ago. He lasted under 2 years, and he was a young guy in his 40. I think he was 44 when he had this. Some other people around. You guys may remember Dr. Mills that worked for Dixon Medical Associates when I joined 10 years ago. He is one of the individuals that had glioblastoma. So glioblastoma kills about 15,000 individuals a year. And the current treatment, there's pretty much 3 different treatments. The first is radiation to try to shrink the tumor to make it smaller. They use chemotherapy to try to reduce the rapid size of the growing glioblastoma. And then they use a debulking surgery. So yeah, they open up your head and they remove part of the tumor to make sure that there's more room. So basically your skull is a very tight knit thing. And when something grows, it pushes the rest of the brain up against the skull, and you can have brain damage. You can have bleeding in the brain and things of that nature. That it's a very bad thing. So there's not a whole lot of room for stuff to grow inside of your skull. This is a very malignant tumor. So like I said, malignant, fast growing, very deadly. Very few people survive. In fact, I don't really know of any cases of people that survive, but I don't know of every person that's ever had glioblastoma. So this is the case study, and I've put the case study in the notes for you to see. And I've also put a link to the website that documents this person's journey. So this person got diagnosed with glioblastoma in 2014, and they pretty much rejected the idea that they were going to be slowed down by this. They rejected also traditional therapy. So no chemotherapy, no radiation did this person choose to do. Instead, they dove out and did their own research and found some really brilliant people. Dr. Thomas Seyfried is one of them. He's a brilliant cancer research doctor. And he said, hey, I've read that sugar causes cancer. And he's like, yeah. And I've read that a ketogenic diet can feed and fuel my body without sugar. It's like, yeah. He goes, I have glioblastoma. I want to do this. And he's like, whoa, there's no research here. If you're doing this, you're doing it at your own risk. But he surrounded himself with people who knew what they were doing and went on a very strict ketogenic diet. Now, here for weight loss, we're really preaching protein and how important protein is. But when you're doing a ketogenic diet for something like seizure disorder, or in this case, in a brain tumor, you're looking for a more high fat. So you're very much high fat. You have some protein, but it's the amount you need to kind of keep your body going and make sure you get the amino acids and things that you need. But it's more about the high fat content, and the carbohydrates are taken to under 20 grams total. The lower you go, the better. And in fact, this individual at one point was doing more of a carnivore approach with added fats to get the fat level up to get there. And so Dr. Seyfried and the other brilliant people that he was working with said, well, let's follow you. If you're going to do this, if your choice to do this, let's follow you and see what happens. This person was pretty young. Let me see if I can find his age when he was diagnosed. I'm not finding it, but I really do think that he was like in his 20s, early 30s, something like that when he was diagnosed with it. So he underwent this ketogenic diet, and they continued to do serial MRIs monitoring in the brain. And what they found is when he was keeping his ketones high, was not consuming any sugar, his brain tumor was still growing, but it was growing at a much slower rate. It wasn't rapid progressing. And then over time, they kept watching it, and he did go debulking, do debulking surgeries, I think at least twice. But remarkably, this gentleman lived for 10 years after his diagnosis of glioblastoma. And that kind of gives me chills. Something that kills most people in under 2 years, 5-year survival rate is very small, 10 years. But not only that, he, in that 10 years of time, had a very high quality of life. He was not hampered by the side effects of radiation. He was not hampered by the side effects of chemo, had a very, very high quality of life. He got married. He had children. This is something that he would not have been able to do had he not found this nutritional approach to combating his cancer. Now, why? Why would something like this work? Well, all cancers feed on sugar. That's why you have this thing called a PET scan when you're diagnosed with cancer. They basically inject a sugar solution in you and watch it on images to see what lights up. And when it lights up, it's growing. So sugars and things that turn to sugars are one of the ways of feeding cancer. It's through a process called fermentation. Meats don't ferment. Sugars and carbohydrates ferment, and that's the main fuel for these cancers. So when you remove its fuel, guess what? It slows its growth. Now, in fairness, there's another process that feeds cancer, and it's driven through protein. So that's another way where a ketogenic diet kind of is a big star, because it's keeping the protein low, but enough to feed the body. So it allows the cancer to slow because it's being slowly killed off. Now, ultimately, this is still a very violent cancer, and I don't know that there's any way to completely stop it. But if you can more than quadruple your years of life and have high quality life, then it's definitely worth looking into. And I've met multiple people who have used this dietary strategy to help slow the growth of their cancer. Multiple women with breast cancers who have used this to slow it. Multiple people who've used it as an adjunct to their chemotherapy to help them get through chemotherapy easier. So it's a great thing that we need to be looking at and exploring more. And if you're interested in learning more, check out the book Keto for Cancer. It's a great one written by a lady that I've met. First name is Miriam, and I always say her last name wrong, so I'm not even going to say it, but the book is Keto for Cancer. And it's designed for a family or a person going through cancer and learning how to eat this way and incorporate it into their diet. Also, look at the book by Sam Apple, Ravenous. Yes, Ravenous. It's up there on my shelf. That's why I'm looking up. But that is talking about where this idea of cancer being not a genetic trait in all cases, but something that is an environmental trigger, and it's fermenting, and sugar is a great cause of that. So look at that book by Sam Apple. It's a great one. Take a look at this case study for yourself and read it. I personally think it's very remarkable that someone can take their health in their own hands and change the course of their life, no matter what their condition is. Now, something else I wanted to point out about this case study is he did more than just the ketogenic diet. He also started to practice mindfulness and gratitude. And there is great power in controlling your mental outlook of things and in being grateful for every moment, every breath, everything that you have. And it changes even the inflammation levels in your body. And I'm sure you guys have seen examples of people who face a chronic condition or circumstances that seem like they're just mounting up and is too much, but the person is very grateful and practicing very mindfulness and has a very positive attitude, and they're more likely to come out of that illness than someone who has a negative attitude. I know I've seen it even firsthand when I was a nurse in the hospital 20 years ago, 20 plus years ago at this point, on a pulmonary floor. People who had a positive attitude that they were going to beat that condition and go home more likely did than the people who just were like, no, I'm done. I'm not going to make it. It's horrible. Woe is me. So your mind has a whole lot to do with your outcome, and not just what you put in your body, but what you put in your body can not only cause cancer, but it can feed cancer. Now, hear me, I'm not saying that sugar caused this person's cancer. We don't really truly know everything about cancers and what triggers them. And I don't think that sugar caused his glioblastoma, but it sure as heck made it grow a lot slower so that he could become an adult and have a chance to be a husband and a dad and have a great quality of life and see his little girl, get to an age with it she can remember him. And so to me, that gives me chills to know that just changing your diet and your mindset can be that powerful. All right. Oh yeah, somebody may have noticed my little eggs and bacon earrings. I was feeling it today. Also, I'm a little under the weather, so I'm not looking as pretty as I normally do, but you just have to forgive me. Hopefully I get better by Thanksgiving. But you guys have a great week. Enjoy some downtime. Enjoy your families, and I will see you next week. Till then, stay healthy, okay?